Hello, everybody. This is Meredith, and this is a lesson in record keeping. Um, this is probably most of what I'm going to say is probably for people that aren't quite so computer literate, but maybe everybody can benefit from it anyway, at least parts of it. If you're not very computer literate, I really urge you to take a class in basic computer skills, especially Microsoft Word. Try your community center, your senior center, your library, your community college, your high school for adult classes. And of course, there are private classes you can take. They'll be more expensive. Maybe once you're making some money, you can do that. But really, it's going to make your life so much easier and happier if you're more computer literate. But for now, uh, what I'm going to be talking about is record keeping. And the reason for this is because you want to be able to follow up with people. When you speak with a prospect, you need to know that they are, you need to keep in touch with them. And not all of the people, but for example, if you speak to somebody today and there's a reason for you. Let's say they say they're going to go to the website tomorrow. Well, I would put it down to call them I would put them on the follow-up for 2 days tomorrow from the day after tomorrow. If they don't go tomorrow, then I call them to find out what's up. If they do go, well, then I'll call them sooner. But just there's many different reasons for follow-up. I did do a follow-up training. That's in our archives you might want to look at. I forget the date of it, but it was a Thursday in March, and March 2016. And so there's lots of reasons for follow-up. So here's there are many ways to keep your record keeping. Now I keep my records in an Excel file that looks like this. This is a Word file. I transferred everything to Word. If you know Excel, if you're not familiar with Excel, if you're not good at Excel, do not use Excel. It can be very confusing. But this is a Word document, and what this is this is how I keep track. But you can, I have it a different way for you too. If you want this document, I can give it to you. I can also give it to you without the table. If you're familiar with tables, you might prefer this if you know how to work with tables. But for example, here's all the columns. The source, well, it should be named something else, or it could be, actually that's fine. Like let's say you did a Craigslist ad, you could write Craigslist ad here. Let's say it was a voice broadcast, you could put VB true, meaning they left a message, or VB false, they didn't leave a message, that you're calling them anyway. Here's the timestamp, the date and time, or just the date. Here's the biz. If you're in more than one business, you might want to put which business you were calling this person for. The duration, that's how long the call was. Really not necessary anymore. This was my record, so you could just skip this. You probably don't need that. Calling number, the phone number of the prospect. Now, yeah. And then location is the state or the province or the country. Zone is the time zone. And called is your 800 link number that you used for that ad if you did use one. You may not care about putting that there, but let's say you have one number you use for Craigslist ads and one number you use for voice broadcast. Well, you might want to put that number there, and then you know that's another way for you to tell where you got that message from. Then here's the notes, and this is where I put the person's name and anything they said on their message that they left for me, or anything that happened when I call them or whatever. And I always put the date and time as well. And then here's their email address. So you can use this if you want, or I made another one which I transferred this to a non-table so it looks like this. So you don't have to use the table. Now unfortunately the headings I'd have to go through and delete 366 headings, and I didn't want to do that. So you can just ignore it or delete it as you go through the document and just keep your notes in here in between. Now, the first thing you do, if you are going to keep notes in your computer and use one of my files like this, the first thing you should do is name it and save it in your computer as date template. Actually, I already have done that. So if you get it from me, you just upload it into your computer and save it into your computer, and name it as date template. Then what you do is you save it as a new file For example, call it record keeping or however you want to name it. But that way you still have your date template file in tact. So you can always have those 1 through 30, January 1st through December 31st. Now something else I'm just going to show you here because it's easier to see, but it's all on the other one too. If you go down to the bottom here and you do Control End, E-N-D for the bottom and scroll up just a bit here, you're going to see this says never call, don't call again. These are my keywords, by the way. I use these as keywords to search in the document. Also, before I go there, let me point out that all of the numbers, it'll say call like 1231 and then there's 2 little caret marks. That is my way of being able to search for a date. For example, let's say you make a note and you speak with this person on let's say you speak with them on February 1st and you make in your notes, you say to yourself, okay, call him back April 1st. Okay, so you wrote that in your notes. Now, at some other time, for some other reason, you want to search for the date April 1st. Maybe you have someone else you want to put under that date to call back. Well, if you just search April 1st, you're going to find it in all your notes. You're going to find it in many places. So if you do search, Control F for find, search, look for April 1st, and you put the caret mark after it, it's only going to find that one. That's another keyword thing. I hope I'm not confusing you. Okay. Now, there are all sorts of reasons for following up with people. Let's say you speak with someone or you leave a couple messages and they never did go to the website. Well, you might want to follow up in a few weeks or a few months. And again, listen to my follow-up recording. I've explained that a little bit more. Now, at the bottom here, we have this. And then this is what you would do. Let's say you're at 12:31. And now you're somewhere here and someone says follow up. Let's say you're in November and someone says follow up with me in January. Well, now you're going to want to add some of the dates from the template file into your record keeping file. So you would simply copy, and I'm not going to, if you don't know tables, don't use this one. You would simply copy and then paste, copy from the template file, and then, you would copy the January 1st, let's say all the Januaries, and now you'd go and you'd copy and paste these. Okay, I think I did confuse something. After let's say you call after you finish a day, what I would do is, I'm going to save this as a temp file here, just so I don't screw up my date file. Let's say you finished with January 1st and you're done with today. Well, I would delete this now. I would, whoops. I don't know what I did there. Sorry. Okay, I would copy and delete these rows. So now my first one is January 2nd, the next day, and so on. And that's why when you get to the bottom here, you need to add back in the January dates, the February dates, and so on. And that's why I say save the file as date template. Now, if you're going to use this file instead, same thing though. I have the call 1, 2 caret marks. So again, you can still search for it that way. And the reason that I have this never call again, though, is not necessarily because you didn't like the person or something, but because you thought there was no reason to follow up. I keep all my records in this file. I do not throw anybody's number away, even if I never want to talk to them again, or I don't see a need to follow up with them because they might call me. So what I do is anytime someone does call me, I immediately search for their phone number. Actually, I search by the last 4 digits of their phone number that I see on my caller ID, and I find them in this record so that I know who they are and who I'm talking to. And every once in a while, someone calls me who's in my never call again list. So I keep everybody for that reason. So sometimes you're going to want to never follow up with someone, and sometimes you are. Now remember too, of course, that sometimes you're going to have people to call. Let's say you have a bunch of people that you've set to call on January 3rd here, but on January 3rd you run out of time or you just decide not to call them. That's all up to you. Then of course you're going to want to copy and paste all these people. Let's say you have all these records of these several people. So then you're going to want to just copy and paste them and move them to the next day or whatever other days you want, and then you would delete this day. Again, I got to save it as a different file so I don't screw up my dates. So then you delete, and these would all be deleted. Now you're on January 4th. So that's how that all works. And again, anyone can call me or Skype me if you're confused. I'm trying not to go. I'm trying to, just give you the basics here. I can't explain everything. Okay. Now, I want to explain how there are various ways to keep records. You don't have to use these documents that I've made for you. You might have your own. There are contact managers. Even in some of our back offices, there's contact managers where you can keep track that way. I can't teach you those. That's up to you. If you're not computer literate and you'd prefer, you can do it the old-fashioned way by putting maybe them on index cards, like we used to do before there were computers, or on a yellow pad. If you do the index cards, what I suggest, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you can buy index cards, but you can also buy index cards that have tabs on them for the months of the year, and also ones with 1 through 31. So this is a great way for you to keep track of how to what days you need to call people. So you put one person on one index card, like for today you speak with them, you decide you want to speak with them in 2 days, you now put his card 2 days hence. So that's the kind of thing you would do there. And that is it for this recording. And I again hope I didn't confuse anybody. See you on the next recording.